What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So this video right here is really some breaking news because the CDC is now recommending overall balance compared to complete and 100% safety. And I want you to watch this entire video because I'm going to outline what the CDC just said, what Dr. Anthony Fauci has said, and how many are perceiving this news. So again, I just want to thank you guys for watching, but make sure you stick around for this entire video. And if you enjoy this style of video, please go ahead and hit that like button so I know you enjoy it and I can keep you updated on everything that's going on. Let me explain what's currently going on. On Monday, a couple days ago, the CDC issued new guidance for the isolation of people who do test positive with COVID or those that are around somebody that is infectious. Now, the initial isolation period was supposed to be between 10 and 14 days. 10 days if you were vaccinated, 14 days if you were not. Well, they decided to cut that to only 5 days with an additional 5 days to wear a mask if you are around people. Now, because of this drastic change, we cut it in half. So it is a drastic change. The CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, she has been getting a lot of criticism over the past couple of days. Well, she came out today, provided multiple statements. She was on multiple news channels, multiple stations, right? And so I want to address what she said and how the American people are supposed to perceive this new information. Now, so there, okay, we're all on the same page there. Let's address what the director of the CDC said. Director Walensky, she acknowledged the fact today that the new recommendations, and I quote, really had a lot to do with what we thought people would be able to tolerate. Okay, keep that in mind. I'll read it again. This new recommendation really had a lot to do with what we thought people would be able to tolerate. So this is not just about personal safety, but it's a mix between safety and well-being. That's the key. We're trying to find balance. Remember with the flu, right? Not every single person goes and gets the flu shot, and it's understandable, but we live with it. We live with the flu. And that's, according to multiple health experts, what we are trying to move towards is being able to not just be afraid of COVID, but let's live with it, just like we do with the flu, right? So here's what Director Walensky went on to say. She went on to say, and I quote, "And so we really want to make sure that we had guidance in this moment where we were going to have a lot of disease that could be adhered to, that people were willing to adhere to, and that spoke specifically to when people were maximally infectious." Okay? Now, based on the science, and I'll push a little bit of science on you. According to scientists, people are most infectious the first 2 days prior to the onset of symptoms and 3 days after. Okay? So for 5 days. This is where those 5 days are coming from for the isolation period. It's not perfect science, but it's fairly close. But here is what Dr. Anthony Fauci had to say today. He said, and I quote, "With the sheer volume of new cases that we are having and that we expect to continue with Omicron, one of the things we want to be careful of is that we don't have so many people out. If we are asymptomatic and you are infected, we want to get people back to jobs." Okay? That's key. He wants to get people back to work. And he also went on to say this, and I quote, "I think that was a very prudent and good choice on the part of the CDC, which we spent a considerable amount of time discussing. Namely, getting people back in half the time that they would have been out so that they can get back to the workplace, doing things that are important to keep society running smoothly." Key words, keep society running smoothly. He also went on to say, "This new guidance allows the economy continue to run, not with a zero risk, but with a markedly diminished risk." So he is saying, he's blatantly coming out and saying, we understand the risk involved with changing the guidance, but That's what we need to do to keep the economy running. And in a recent study done by the Boston University School of Public Health, they state that adult depression tripled. It tripled in the US during the pandemic, during the initial stages of the pandemic, and it's not getting any better. They are even stating that 1 out of every 3 Americans experience persistent depression. And let me just ask you, do you feel more depressed now than you did in the past? Because we were told just 2 weeks of a lockdown to curb this pandemic, curb the spread, and we'd be back to normal. That 2 weeks has turned into almost 2 years. Okay? We're coming up on almost 2 years. Now, we're still a couple months away, but still 2 years. Now, when the lockdowns occurred, in order to prevent the spread of COVID back in March 2020, what happened? Well, at that time, the Trump administration, they ordered a lockdown, right? Let's just shut things down. Let's curb this pandemic. Well, at that time, millions of people end up losing their jobs. More than 7 million people lost their jobs for months, for multiple months. This meant, in many cases, no health insurance, lost wages, and many people, their well-being completely spun out of control. Now, Dr. Anthony Fauci, he originally stated that once the U.S. got into the 70, 75, even 80% vaccination range, that we would have reached herd immunity. And that sounds great, right? Herd immunity, it's going to be perfectly fine. But here's the problem. And they knew this going in, but the problem has always been there was never going to be enough people willing to get the vaccine to ever reach that number. And they knew it. Health experts knew there's not enough people that are willing to get the vaccine, any vaccine, not just a COVID vaccination, but even a flu vaccine. The flu shot that people get every single year, there's still millions of people that do not get it because they don't believe in that. So here's the question that we have now. How much risk are we willing to accept in order to get out of this pandemic and get back to our somewhat normal lives? Well, the move by the CDC tells us exactly what that risk is. We are going to accept tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people getting sick right now and over the next few weeks, potentially months, in order to prove that we can get back to normal, somewhat normal. We can open up somewhat safely. And, keyword, not hurt our economy in the meantime. That is what we're looking at. So, let me just give you some quick advice. When it comes to the guidance of the CDC, your recommendations from the FDA, right, President Biden, the Biden administration, anybody, you have to understand that this is new. Nobody knows exactly how we're going to get through this. Nobody's really been through this before. This is new. But here's also some advice from health experts who are actually against the CDC's recent guidance, but they still want you to stay safe and they still understand that we can get there. We can get back to where we once were. First piece of advice, continue to wear a well-fitted N95 mask when around others. This is something I've been saying for the past few days because cloth masks just don't work as well as a fitted N95. Also, if you do experience any COVID symptoms, they say get tested immediately, as this is the best way to not only protect yourself, but protect others as well. By you getting tested and not going out in the community and spreading a potential virus that you may have, this is protecting everybody else. And if everybody else does the exact same thing you do, you will be protected as well, and we can eventually get back to normal. And they say the exact same thing that I just told you. Understand that nobody has all the answers right now, so taking an extra precaution here and there is better than taking no precautions whatsoever. So, here's what I want to leave you with. Right now, the CDC is recommending balance over complete safety. And at some point, and it doesn't matter when, at some point this is going to have to be the strategy. And according to experts, we have to risk something at some point in order for the reward of getting back to normal. Because if all we do is say, COVID's here, we got to lock down, shut down, no more school, don't send the kids to school, don't go out, guess what? If everybody does that, what if everybody decides that's exactly what we're going to do? It's going to shut everything down. So, according to health experts, even according to economists, we have to figure out what that balance is. That risk of we're having COVID cases increasing versus the reward of let's make sure our economy still is doing what it does. It's still pumping. So, this is what we know right now, but I just wanted to bring this to your attention because a lot of people have asked over the last day or so, is this the smartest move to have only a 5-day isolation period? Well, we kind of got news today as to why they decided on that. So, if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, I just want to thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.